And we are live.
Hello, folks.
Yeah, so just an explanation. I was diagnosed with COVID for the first time, by the way,
Wait,
on
you have COVID?
Saturday.
That's why you have the mask on?
Yeah, the mask, because they say to
Jeez.
wear a mask when you have COVID. So we're wearing masks tonight. I don't want to infect JR, and then I don't want him to reinfect me. So this is, we think this is the way it should be done, and hopefully it will work. Hopefully JR will survive the evening. And for me, if I happen to cough extra or sneeze, I apologize. We'll go forward. JR, keep
I
that.
don't want your germs on me,
I
Richard.
know. Keep it forward.
Yeah.
So not legal advice in JR. Like, subscribe, share. Animals, plants, whatever.
Whew.
I know that JR is a little under the weather too. So if we happen to
Yeah.
cut it short at some point in time, blame him, not me. How many times have you had a live stream with somebody who just got diagnosed with COVID? That's pretty impressive, I think.
I have
Um,
a terrible headache tonight,
all
too.
right. So before we deal with some serious stuff, I have a couple things I wanted to ask JR, and maybe the comments might, if they want to announce what theirs is, feel free also. So first of all, what's your favorite pasta and sauce?
My favorite pasta and sauce.
Yeah,
I mean,
those are two. Just so we're clear, that's two different things.
yeah, I'd say my favorite type of pasta. I can never pronounce it. It's the twirly one that's got the ridges, the kind that you're supposed to really make mac and cheese with. I want to say it's like a catolanani or something like that. I'm terrible with pronunciations, especially when it's a foreign language.
Maybe
Uh,
somebody in the comments will figure it out. Whatever you
yeah,
just said.
it's a noodle that's about that big and it's twisted and it's got grooves in. And
You
the
know what?
reason
That
it's
sounds like your brain. A noodle about that big, kind of twisted. Well, whatever.
did you set me up for
I
this?
did
There,
not. I did not. I didn't know which one you were going to do. How about
Cannellini. Somebody got it. Can't Roger got it.
all right?
Cannellini,
And sauce
Cannellini
and
noodles.
sauce.
Well, the sauce would be a rich Parmesan vodka sauce
All right.
or a
So I will
bolognese.
go. Okay, I'll go rigatoni with either meat sauce or a bolognese. How's that? Best vacation spot ever.
Best
So
vacations,
that's a place you've gone to.
best vacation spot ever for me is the Outer Banks. And I've
Okay.
I've been many places, but at the end of the day, the Outer Banks is my happy place.
All right. My favorite vacations happened. I went to Italy, and Italy was fantastic. I thought. Did a cruise to Alaska. I think
Yep.
that was fantastic. And like the first time we took our kids when they were old enough, like teenagers, to Hawaii, Maui, that was wonderful. Also, that's mine. Your last and not least, your favorite airline. I thought this would be a funny question for you.
Really, there's
Yeah,
only
what's your
one airline.
favorite airline?
There's only one airline, and that's American Airlines.
Okay, so my answer is slightly different. My favorite airline is none of the above. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
the economy falters without commercial air travel. That's all I'm.
Yeah, so hopefully at some point in time we will have that. Um, so four quickies, just for the evening to begin. One, always identify who to blame in an emergency. Two, I do not believe in political jokes. I've seen too many of them get elected. Why did Jody wear a helmet at every meal?
I don't know who's who's Jody.
Just make up a name. Okay. Why did JR wear a helmet at every meal?
I don't know why.
Because he was on a crash diet.
I need to be on a crash diet.
All right. And this one is just like when I saw it, it made so much sense. And I don't know why nobody's ever asked this question before, but why don't the enemies of the Teenage Ninja Turtles just flip them on their backs?
I don't know. Oh,
That's the
that's
question.
a rhetorical question.
That's a rhetorical question. Very important. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful response, especially to the last one, JR. It's a very much appreciated.
Look,
So
look, I talked to someone the other day and we were conversing about this and they were like, you know, you have to tell Richard two jokes is enough. Usually the
oh no.
first two are the funniest, but that third and fourth one,
To be honest, one joke is enough.
yeah,
But
really.
I still, again, I believe in volume over quality. So that's my motto, and I think I'm living up to that motto too. So if you promise something and you deliver, hey, all right, let's move on. We're going to
Wait,
talk about.
wait, one quick clarification. I saw a comment in here that if with my mask on, I'd have a problem just smoking and drinking my whiskey. I want to be very clear. I am not drinking alcoholic beverages. I'm actually just switched to the polar grape seltzer water. This is not alcohol. Just want to be clear.
Yeah, he's not drinking alcohol, even though when he first said alcohol,
Occasion.
it sounded like he had been drinking alcohol.
No, my head hurts too much to drink tonight.
All right. Okay. So we're going to talk about several things. We're going to talk about Kappy Bara, which is finger motion. We're going to talk about MMLTPG. We're going to talk about insurance, my arbitration, and arbitrations in general. And that seems like I've gotten a lot of requests. People seem to have an interest. It appears to arise out of GTII, which is interesting to me. And then we'll talk about GTII and the end of a particular lawsuit and some of our speculation. And that's it. Short sale ban. I saw that a petition going around about a short sale ban. I thought I signed it, of course, and I thought that was interesting. So let's start off with Kappy Bara, and you're aware of that.
I thought you wanted to mention the Jets Bills score. The
Go
Jets
ahead.
lost tonight. 32. The Bills beat the Jets 32-6.
Yeah,
I have a really good friend that rouses me about the Jets, and so just thought I'd put that out there. I'm sure he's watching.
And I'm sure, I heard that the game wasn't even that close.
No, it was a blowout.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Anyway, very, very sad about those Jets. Jets, Jets. So Kappy Bara, you're familiar with that entity or whatever it is?
Yes.
So if I recall, a lawsuit was filed against Kappy Bara, and they went to the host. The host gave up Kappy Bara, and apparently the parties behind Kappy Bara have been identified and have been served. Oh, I don't know if they've been served. Have been identified. And the name, and I don't know any of these people. I'm just going to say the one name that somebody told me. Again, we're not trustworthy for anything. So whatever we say should be doubted, and you should do your own legitimate research as opposed to just listening to us nonsense. But what I had heard was the gentleman's name was Igor Applebaum. Now it was spelled Appleboom. So I don't know if that was a joke. It's very possible that's not a real name either. It's very possible that's not the name, but apparently in that lawsuit that was filed, that was the name that was added as a defendant. So
was what, and I apologize. I saw the same information you did, but I only, glossed over. You read it in more detail. So has a lawsuit been filed against this individual?
Yeah. No, but all you have to do is so if you file a lawsuit, I'm sure we've all heard when somebody refers to like a doe. So when you file a lawsuit, you name the people you know, but the ones you don't know. So if you're the plaintiff, if you're the ones you don't know, you add something called does. And so it'll say does 1 through 100. And as you discover people that might have liability, you can add them in. So let's say, for example, Igor Appleboom is really a person and they're going to be added to the lawsuit. The person who filed the lawsuit would file something with the court, Doe 1 amendment, 1 page, no problem, and then they're in the case. And then they would serve that person or try to serve that person.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm not surprised. I mean, it was pretty predictable that Mark was going to serve and figure out who was behind the website. I mean, it's kind of standard stuff.
Yeah,
That was easy stuff for Mark.
what's interesting, and again, I haven't done a thorough analysis of this. So again, this is what I'm told. I can't vouch for it. I don't know if you have, but there were several individuals that were associated with that group, and they're names that we've previously heard, and they're names that we previously suspected of being shills for the shorts.
Well, they were names that were not attached, but somehow associated with a Twitter account or liked a Twitter account or followed a certain Twitter account. I don't know the details because I just kind of glossed over the stuff.
Yeah.
And
I get,
didn't have any kind of,
you're right. We don't know, but let me frame it a different way. Let's say somebody was hosting a show and you thought they had a short position, and that's what they constantly maintained. So they were running basically a contrary. That was their deal. And let's say they had, at the same time, somebody was running a pro and they had, let's say, 400 people, and the contrary had 20 people. Let's say of those 20, a lot of those 20 are the people that we are referring to. Now, I'm not gonna name any names because I don't know the truth, other than that name I just mentioned. But a lot of names been mentioned over the past year that people thought might have a short position or might be shilling for the shorts and have been holding spaces and things like that. And some of those people are within that group. So what that meant to me is that our concerns about that, and I don't mean, I don't think there's like thousands of people like that, but it confirmed that there may be a certain number of people that are working against our interests. So what's interesting to me is they know about this lawsuit now too. They're aware.
Well, go back to, I mean, none of that surprises me, and I'm not at all, again, it just doesn't surprise me. But go back to the space that Mark Bazil did. I mean, I don't even remember what it was at this point, where he talked about kind of that social media sweep that they're capable of doing. They can ping, they can put in a ticker and see all the posts over the time from just based on the ticker. So I'm not, there's no doubt in my mind that if Mark is doing his due diligence, which I would assume he is, that he's already done that and is probably already has some of these names that we're familiar with.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of a different take. So my view was, and that's on finger motion, by the way. So the Kappy Bara applies to finger motion. Finger motion obviously is a telecommunications company, data company located, I guess, does most of its business in China, but located in Singapore with a main office in New York.
Who's Dave Ramsey? There's now 2 comments saying I look like Dave Ramsey. Who is that?
He's your twin brother, isn't he?
Must be.
He's like a financial guy, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but as bad as you in terms of financial advice. So just kidding. Just kidding.
Well,
just kidding.
I would say that Dave Ramsey looks like me. Piss on that.
That's true. But I think he's older than you.
Well, I
think he's like,
I didn't know who it was.
No, I think he's 3 months older than you. He just turned 79.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes, it was very funny. Thank you. So I thought I had a little different take on it. What I thought is, like, all those peripheral people that I'm not referencing their names. So all you people that I'm not referencing your names, again, I elect not to. So if you elect to have a more assertive position as to us, then I will change my election. So I'm being nice. But as to those,
light bulb.
I don't see the light bulb. Where's the light bulb? I didn't see it. Where is it? Okay. Okay. But what I thought is, like, anybody who might be affiliated with Kappy Bara, or anybody who's doing those short and distort other than like the really wealthy ones, like Hindenburg, I don't think they care. So if they want to target somebody, one, they'll spend a boatload of money in doing a thorough research job. It may be, maybe slanted. Of course, it'll be slanted,
Sure.
but it's probably not actionable, But like Kappy Bara, that's like two, two short
They
reports, right?
they did 3, I thought.
No, I mean two different entities. They
Right.
targeted two people over at least a year, so it's not like they were super aggressive. And we don't think they have like a ton of assets, but I think all the individuals whose names I didn't get their names. By the way, it wasn't like I went looking for their names. Somebody sent me a DM about their names, right? So if somebody sent me a DM, then can you imagine who else got a DM of their names? I would think.
Oh. Oh, absolutely.
So I don't, and I have no idea. They may all be perfectly fine. They have nothing to be concerned about. They may be acting appropriately. It may be only like this guy who's in charge of Kappy Bara. But even if they have nothing to hide, if they get investigated, it's expensive. You got to hire a lawyer, whatever. You may prevail, but you may get caught up in something. And I think they will consider that. Honestly, if they were my client and they came to me, this would be the discussion. Your cost is going to go up. Listen, you might get caught up in an investigation. If you get caught up in an investigation, you're going to have to hire counsel. You don't know how it's going to work. It may disrupt your business. I mean, it's really it goes deep. So I found it very significant, that naming, because I think it's one step that would frighten someone who might be in that position. And again, anybody who is legitimate has no reason to have any concern. Honestly, they don't. But if you're goofing around and you're impacting traders and stock price, at some point in time, somebody's going to go after those guys. At some point,
Well, sure.
because somebody's going to want to make a name for themselves. That's the Elon Musk statement, right? About how the SEC lawyers, how they make a name for themselves. At some point in time, they'll make a name for themselves. So if they go after somebody who's doing securities fraud or market manipulation, and they could splash a headline, they save the retail from these dastardly shorts. You don't think somebody's going to want a trophy? And that's exactly what Elon said. And again, I'm not a big fan always of Elon. I love his products and his innovation. Don't always like what comes out of his mouth. But as to this particular issue, I think
Yeah.
he's right. I think he's
Yeah.
right on.
Well,
And
yeah. Didn't he tweet about that one guy? I don't know who it was. He put a tweet and he said, what did he say? I warned him. I said,
yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, again, he's someone who's experienced it. His company has experienced it. And like I told you, the last 4 out of the last 5 months, Tesla is the most. I know we deal with shorting, but in terms of quantity, Tesla is, and they tried to kill Tesla when they were, basically struggling to exist. We all know that. So I find it interesting that particular discovery in the Kappy Bara case, which I think is in New York, and I think it will chill the short and distorts. I believe, because I think they're going to reflect. They're going to think, can we be? Is there something that can blow back on us if we do it? Even if
there's like 5 different comments about Ham trying to call you.
oh,
I don't know if you saw your phone ring or what, but
I did
sorry,
not.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but they're like 5 of them in a row, and I know you have problems seeing the comments. So
Yeah. So maybe I could. Well, can I? I think I blow the call. I was going to invite him, but I think if I invite him, I would knock you off.
well, I mean, it's somebody just said he's got something important to say. So
Oh, you okay? Let me see.
if I bounce, I bounce.
Okay.
Besides, I don't want you to get me sick.
So I do see a message, by the way. I'll try. See if it works.
He's telling me he only has 2 minutes.
Oh,
Ask him about the patterns too, just to be on the safe side.
it went to his voicemail.
All right, sorry. Well, you tried.
I tried. Went to his voicemail, but it's staring at me right now if he calls back.
Isn't it your good eye?
It's my bad eye. I could miss the call. That's true. Thank you for remembering, by the way. I appreciate it. But I think that's an important thing because I think it's going to suppress those kind of like the ones that are the least credible. And oh, here he is. I hope I can hear you. I can hear you sort of. Can you hear him, JR?
No.
Oh, no, they can't. But I can translate if you want. I could or you could try JR. or I can try to send you an invite and you can come on the live stream. Yeah, I'll do that.
Why don't you mute, Richard? Now
Okay.
I'll talk to our guests.
Let me see if I could do it without knocking you off. You can come back in anyway, right?
Yeah, I still have the link.
Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Wow, that's exciting.
I'm just looking at the comments.
What's his? I forgot his email.
I have no idea. So Don, I see that you popped on. How did those Jets do tonight?
Oh yeah, no, I got it. I remembered. Are you talking?
We have dead broadcast space. We can't do this. That's like the biggest faux pas in.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's continue.
What
So
do they call it? Television? Yeah.
Yeah, dead air. That's what they call it. Dead air. All right, I'm done.
All right. Okay. So, anyways, Kappy Bara exposing some of these guys.
That was well done. Wasn't that great? How entertaining was that? That last 2 minutes, really? You don't get to see that very often. I sent him a invite, so he will join us. Yeah, so I think it's very positive, and I think it's going to be very influential. It will suppress the short and distorts, at least for a time being. And I'm hoping that a bunch of other people follow up and pursue the same against others, because I'm sure there's plenty of them, because I've seen them. I've seen them.
You're going to start to see more and more of that kind of stuff. I don't know what's going on with my comments. They're not working right now. I can't keep up with them.
That's not my problem. All right, I'm going to move on in this exciting discussion. The petition that was filed in New York to disclose the names. So we talked about that, but since we talked about it, there was a date set for a hearing, December 14th. And basically what happened is there is an order to show cause. And in the law, you can set proceedings that have remedies that aren't like a trial.
Right.
And I think Ham just joined us.
Did that work?
Yeah.
It did work.
Okay, welcome, guys.
Yeah, you're on. You're on.
All right, so to save everybody from your bad jokes, I'll just go through what I had.
Too late. You're too late.
How many bodies did you kill? How many people did
17 and 13 wounded.
My headache got 100 times worse after the third one.
So I drove down to I'll give you a quick story. I left my hotel to drive down to Miami to see one of the biggest holders in both GTI and Finger on Saturday morning. I go out to get my car from the hotel, from the valet, and I'm standing there drinking a cup of coffee. I'm looking, I see two women get in my car and drive away. I told the guys, I look like my rental car. I have a white little Nissan. I don't even know what it is. I only drove it, 20 minutes. I said, look like my car. He goes, nah, they all look the same. Another car pulls up, a white car. I get in it. I turn around. There's all luggage in it. I had the woman's car. So I told the guy, listen, I got to be in Miami in an hour and 15 minutes. You better get me a car. So the women turn around. I get in my car finally. I take off. They took my cord for my phone charge. I had to stop at a gas station to go buy a cord. My phone was dying because I didn't know the directions. I'm not familiar with Miami at all. But that was the beginning of my Saturday morning in a race to get to Miami to a meeting. So I get here at 10 a.m. I'm sitting in the lobby waiting for the gentleman to come down. And who's standing next to me? Ken Griffin, 2 feet from me, talking to some guy. Now, I don't want to start yelling at him. I'm not going to do that. So he walks outside, so I follow him.
Why not?
Did you try to kick him?
No, am I going to fight? I'm going to fight one of the richest guys in the world in the street.
Yeah, it would be very entertaining. It'd be very entertaining.
That's what I needed to get arrested. So I tried to get a video of him. He kept turning and looking, but then looked away. But I saw his car and his security guy, and he was standing there, and I tried to get the best of it. I figured Pat Byrne would love it because he did write a story once about hedge funds to the military soldiers. You die while we buy a Maybach. And that's exactly what the car this guy had. And I said, Pat Byrne, you nailed it right on the nose 15 years ago. That's what they buy. And that's true. He was standing right there. I didn't want to fight with him in the street. So I sat down with,
I was going to say, next time you see him, you should yell Kappy Bara at him and see if he flinches.
You would know. I doubt that. Those guys, Kappy Bara, are so moronic. Now, I have been busy for days. What did in the claim or the complaint? Did you see the gentleman's name from Kappy Bara? Was it in there? I don't even know.
I heard of a name. Yes.
Oh, was it? I don't know. I noticed a name. I didn't know what his name was.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, somebody told me that the name Igor Appleboom was the name.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. I think I heard. Yeah. I don't remember the name, but Mark said he had the name, and I never asked. I never let him put it out.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's a real name. Also, by the way.
Well, they paid through that through the site. They had to pay for it. Someone paid for it using that name. So whatever it is, who knows? That information was sent to the Secret Service, and I'm glad it's from Brazil because it shows that we have. Brazil is now the research capital, the financial research capital of the world. We're getting our research reports on companies that trade in New York, based in China, from Brazil. You talk about something that should never happen. Is that and not exactly what it is? But it shows that this goes offshore. All right. So I sent it to the FBI and Secret Service. It's pretty easy to see the pattern. What's going on here?
Same pattern, right?
What? I know. J.O. wanted me to ask you about the patterns, right? The pattern on his shirt. That's what I'm looking at. It's the same stupid pattern.
It is the same pattern. Same pattern to Ace wears too. Same pattern.
Every day. I don't even know how to. I'm glad everybody understands it. It's the only way to do it is keep drilling it into your heads. I mean, that's I see it every time I see it as, oh my God, try something new. They don't even have the brain capacity to do anything else. And I keep trying to tell everybody, these are idiots doing this stuff. This is not sophisticated trading. They're just basically doing the same thing every day, and they hope that everybody's going to give up. That's it. That's all they're trying to do.
Yeah, so they can't be making money doing this. That's for sure.
No, this is all they're trying to do here is make us go away so they don't go to jail. Because following the paper trail here is going to unwind the whole thing on wherever it's going to go. And now that we, had contact with the Secret Service and the FBI, this is going to be coming up shortly in the next, I'll say, 10 days. And, they told me that once the investigation begins, a formal investigation, I have to keep quiet. So you'll know that they're here when you see me shut my big mouth.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
What, did I shut my big mouth?
Yes, that will happen. That'll be amazing.
So I can,
as much as I enjoy it.
They're going to come here and put a sock in my mouth. That'll be.
What are they going to do? Yeah, what do they do? What do they hire? Like 50? If you speak, you're at a pool party and you speak. What, like 50 FBI guys and come pull you out of the party.
Well, if they said that, once the investigation begins, I'll be a witness and giving them information. So I have to basically shut my mouth.
I understand.
The petition, yeah, as you can see, why the shorts win. Here's a petition for people to sign to change and force the SEC to stop shorting, whatever it may be. And people can't even sign the stupid thing. I had 50 people sign it already that I know. I called them up and screamed at them, and they all signed that petition. I think it's 1,700 people signed it already. There's millions of people that own stocks. How do you not sign the stupid thing? And only you idiots.
I signed.
No, listen, I signed. I got everybody signed. There you go. But if you're saying that, that just shows you how the shorts win, because the longs don't. They do not band together. They won't go protest together. They can't know who's going to go fight for their investments. There's a core of people that do it. Maybe 10,000. But there's millions of people that are being affected here, and they can't even take the time to sign a stupid thing. It's ridiculous.
Well, I wish more people participated, but I think there's more people that are participating. So maybe over time, as slow as that stupid pace is, I think you have people like you have an impact, and more people kind of figure it out. And it's just very slow. That's all. Because most people don't know. Who knows this stuff if you don't pay attention?
No, I keep trying to tell people it's your money. That's what I told the regulators, the enforcement people. Not the regulators, they're brain dead. I told the enforcement people, I said, listen, this is out here. We got it this far. If you don't have the balls to step up and investigate this stuff, then I don't care if they steal. They're stealing your money. They're not getting mine anymore. You got your money. I don't care if you're Secret Service, FBI. They're going to get you somehow. Maybe you need a company that has a medical treatment for someone in your family. It's going to affect you one way or the other. So you don't want to fight. You don't want to get it investigated. Then stop it. Just tell me to stop, and I'll walk away. End the conversation. So I did my best on that front.
Well, that's about as serious as you can get, right? And those people should be interested, and we'll see.
Oh no, listen, they're serious people, but I was not afraid to speak my mind. I told them the way it is. I said, man, you don't want to do it, don't do it. I don't give a shit anymore. I could care less. They're standing right here robbing us, and if you don't want to do it, I can't help it anymore.
But I know they have jurisdiction over counterfeiting, so it does fit.
Well, that's I've gotten some correspondence. That's what they're looking into, is which angle, and the counterfeiting and offshore terrorist is what they're looking at. That's the angle they're looking at it. I don't know the angle the FBI has taken. That guy was a very different guy in the Secret Service. The Secret Service has been very talkative, about what they're doing. They have a forensic an accountant working on it already. They start Monday, following the money trail. That's what they told me. So I guess we'll see how they do this whole thing. So that's got moved. That has movement already. So I guess when they come back with questions, then I can tell you how serious they really are. What's going on.
Listen, you've addressed all possible law enforcement. So what else can you do?
I don't know what's left.
Maybe you could ask the security guards at 7-Eleven if they can chip in.
Mall cops.
They let everybody go in. They let everybody rob the stores now. So
that's true. That's true. Get out of the way.
It's just amazing that that companies are hiring lawyers and this and that, and it's just, how does the U.S. equity markets have companies putting out press releases yelling about fraudulent activity in their companies and no one look into it? Small companies have to pay.
Yeah.
You can see what happened. I don't know exactly what happened with West Christian, but I know the gentleman that funded that lawsuit with GTII, and he put $500,000 into it. That's a lot of money. And, even though $500,000 is a lot of money, guys are putting up millions with their big lawyers, representing the brokerage communities. They don't even flinch. They'll just pay you to death, and that's what's going on here. That's
that's a budgetary item for them.
Yeah, this is what I think is going on. I just think they're trying to drag it on. grind everybody to the dirt with, who's going to keep funding these lawsuits. I think going after the toxic lenders is a new twist. So while Mark Bazile is doing that, I'm sure Wes is trying to figure another angle out, whatever he has to do there. And, I'm not involved in the lawsuit at all. I could just, I introduced everybody and they just do what they have to do. I'm not, I'm not a lawyer, that. So
I didn't know that. I thought this was 3 lawyers speaking. I apologize.
Neither are we.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. 0 lawyers. That's the name of this title of this one.
I just learned don't speed. I just got that down now. So, but again, it's a process that's very difficult. These small companies don't have millions of dollars that they could throw at law firms to go attack, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. You just don't have the money. It's just,
they're not. It's really, you're right. It's not doable. They can't spend. They don't have the money. Can't spend the money.
And that's what companies are trying to do. They're trying to do anything to save their ass. And the SEC just is looking the other way. Like, MMTLP, for example. I mean, how does that guy even? He should be hiding in shame for these videos that we see about him. People from Congress asking him questions, and he just stumbles through the whole thing. I mean, he looks like a fool. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Wait, what
go
guy?
ahead, Jeff.
You lost me, Ham. What guy are you talking about?
Gensler, when in Congress, when they question him about
MMTLP.
MMTLP.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just sitting there smiling and stuttering and oh yeah, I think I know that name. Is that the one MMA to merged with another company? Like, he knows what's going on. Give it a break.
He knows the name. He's gotten half a dozen or 20 some letters. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows.
I'm just saying, but just to sit here as an adult looking at this, saying, "Come on, give it a break already." Whoever you're protecting, the game's over with. They're busted. Get it over with already.
Yeah, I was going to say it. So before I got involved and me and JR got involved, I had no idea it was this obvious. This is not even like, this is pretend. We're not even pretending it doesn't exist. We're just not going to do anything about it. That's all.
That's exactly what it is.
Right? It's not even a question anymore.
But there's so many people like myself are, you have my money in here, my family's, it's, everything's at risk here. And, how much more can we go on? It's just like insane, How do you, I feel bad for William. He's been fighting so hard for the last few years, as an elderly gentleman. It's how do you make a living?
Yeah.
Standing on YouTube all day long. You guys have career. He has no career anymore. None of us have a career. We're sitting here. I lost my career in this stupid stuff. I've been doing this for so long that each day that goes by, I've lost my career. What am I going to be doing next? Could be a school crossing guard. What do you do? It's like ridiculous. But
when people ask, they expect people to know with certainty when things are going to happen. So, we all like all 3 of us like finger motion, but people just get disappointed when you can't tell them it's going to go to 50 tomorrow.
I can tell you this, Richard, and it's not legal advice, it's not trading advice. In all my heart, this thing is ready to explode to the moon. These guys, where everything they're doing is so desperate, and it just reeks of desperation. It's just unbelievable. I've never seen anything. I've been doing this a long time, and I've been involved in many, many, many short squeezes, going back to Taser, Krispy Kreme, names you never even heard of, that had major short squeezes. And they beat them up. They firm back up. They beat them down. They firm back up. But this is so crazy at a low level. Like those stocks eventually would break out from 5, 6, 9, go to 18, push them back to 12, go up to 21, push them back to 10, and then they go to 100. This thing it's like it can't even go up above 7. I mean, it's so crazy how they don't let it go higher. And that tells me that this is getting deadlier and deadlier because they tried to hold it down, and that just brings in more buyers. Accumulation just keeps. I know someone this week that bought like maybe 150, 160,000, and he could probably buy 5 million shares.
Was that JR?
I don't think it's him.
All right.
But he's no rush. He sees the pattern.
Pretty sure it's not.
He just keeps throwing 3s and 5s. You guys don't understand how big players buy a stock. They just don't go out there and just buy 1 million shares. They sit here and they buy 30, 40,000 shares. You don't even know they're here. At the end of the week, it's another 250, 300,000 shares. And they're in the same spot. And you say, well, how do you know there's a big buyer here? I could tell, you can see the accumulation. And when the buyer steps away for a second, they mark it down using 100 shares to mark it down. That's all they keep trying to do. And hopefully Richard would sell, or JR, or somebody will sell, and that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I find that. I agree. I don't understand it, and because they have a borrowing cost, so it's costing money. It's costs money, and sometimes that interest rate is very high, obviously, and the stock price is not going down. So if the stock price doesn't go down, that means that borrowing cost is going to continue. That means they're just going to continue losing money. I don't see that as a really good strategy.
No, that a big major player has been buying the stock just based on what you said. He doesn't give a shit about what couldn't care less. He knows the borrow rate has been through the roof. He can see the desperation in the real short borrowing stock, driving it down, trying to cover. He could see the washing trades. They see all that. They're not stupid. And they're saying exactly what you said. Every day, these guys are losing a couple of pennies a day. At the end of the week, they're losing 30 cents. Over the 4-week period, they're over $1. The stock is $5, $4.50. If you're losing $1 or over $1 a month, in 4 months, you can't make any money. The whole thing is a waste of time. So basically, they're grinding themselves. And the reason they're doing that, because you could see the desperation in them trying to market lower to get us to sell.
Right.
That's all. It's right there. That's all you have to understand. Their trading pattern is desperation because the cost to carry this monstrosity is killing them. And
Don't you think they're probably leveraged on whatever they have, and somebody's giving them some credit somewhere?
Oh, listen, I don't know how they're even staying alive. I read something the other day, I forget who posted it, that these guys attack the stock slower because they reset the fails to deliver.
Right.
Again, that's above my pay grade. That's a Susan Trimbath question. Again, we always try to figure out, what's the angle here? How are they doing it? And that's one of the major loopholes that, the prime broker is assisting these guys. All right. They're giving them the rules, the regulations. The SEC enforcement conference is for a reason, because all the attorneys that represent these hedge funds, they get the lay of the land from the SEC and what they're doing and the new rules and how they're going to go after whatever they're doing. And they all sort of move the same way, saying, hey, the SEC says, move this direction, it's safe. And that's how the law firms, protect the clients.
But you're right. What you said when you started that was there's something called, I think it's the obligations warehouse.
Right.
And if the failure to deliver is 5 or more than 5 days old, right. Then they could reprice it or rebalance it or some ambiguous nonsense, to be honest.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it made no sense. And what does that mean? That you can short illegally and that's fine?
So everything they're doing to put relieve pressure on margin, they knock it down. They reset this thing according to dates. Again, I didn't understand all the date stuff. I really didn't go through it.
It was confusing. Right.
Just say, okay, on the third day of every month, if you knock it down, you can reset your fails to deliver at this low level.
Right.
And say, okay, so instead of being 7, it's now 450. And say, okay, now we don't have to put up all that money. And that may be what got Alpine to stay alive in the GTI case.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe it extends their margin in essence.
Right. It just buys them time.
Yeah.
All this is doing is just buying time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this monstrosity, and now that we're adding something that they have no control over. They have no control over the FBI and Secret Service. They can bullshit all they want. They can post everything all the nonsense they want. They don't control these people. They have no idea who we're talking to. And there's no one that's a short seller that can call someone at the SEC and tell the Secret Service to stop doing this. That's just, I already discussed that. They said there's no way anyone's breaking into this once we begin. Because I said, can they stop this? He said no. So I got that. I asked that question already.
Right. Do you want to say something, JR?
99.
99 what?
It's an inside joke, Ham.
Oh, okay.
I have a terrible headache tonight. So
Oh.
so
You have a headache? No problem. I'll just do all the talking. I'm fresh. I've been driving, running, talking. So anyway, the gentleman that owns all the shares, he's thinking about buying a lot more in both companies. I sort of put him at ease. He wanted to know what was going on. When he calls, that's how it works on Wall Street, guys. When your clients call and they say, I'm in town, you better get your ass down to wherever the hell they are. So he was bouncing between Cleveland, LA, and Miami. There's no way I'm going to Cleveland or LA. So I scooted down to Miami. And for anyone who flies, I usually fly on JetBlue on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys have them where you guys are. But Spirit Airline is the only flight I could get. And they actually doing this. I think they were acquired by JetBlue. I'm not sure, but the planes are brand new. The seats are terrible, but the cost was, I was like sitting on a hard piece of plastic, but it was only 2 hours and 30 minutes from Fort Lauderdale back to New York. So again, if anyone who is flying, don't be afraid to fly that. I'm usually a nervous Nelly about what kind of planes I'm getting on, and they were all brand new planes. And that's just how JetBlue started. They got all new airplanes from Airbus, and that's how they built out that whole airline. So they do look like they're doing the same thing with Spirit. So if you're flying around on the East Coast, I don't know if it's on the West Coast, Spirit, but it actually was worth the money. It wasn't very expensive, and you got back and forth. So that was just my travel story.
I'm going to be fair to you, Ham. I promised I was going to talk about arbitration, and I'm sure you would be invigorated by that. But if you'd like to bail and not, if you want to listen, that's fine too. But I'm giving you an escape hatch here. If you'd like.
Yes, I'm going to go watch the Viking game. My son's a Viking fan, so I wanted to go watch that game. And it's just that a couple people were all pounding me that they couldn't take your jokes. So.
Okay. No, we always appreciate you updating, and also I really appreciate all your efforts. We really do. Honestly.
Listen, again, I'm with you guys. I'm here. I appreciate everyone else. Please sign the stupid petition. Get it to 10,000 people.
Yeah, get it to 100,000.
We're a disgrace as a group. I mean, not saying, listen, people, the shareholders, everyone cries. They're losing all their money. Stand up and sign the stupid piece of paper. What is there to say? You can hide your name if you like. What's the big deal? Just sign the stupid thing.
Yeah, I think that's one thing all retail should agrees on, right? They all should sign, right?
Everybody from GameStop, AMC, they're all yelling, we're all being MMTLP. We got 65,000 people. You don't have to put up any money. Sign this stupid thing. That's all you have to do. Get the SEC to get off their ass, right? We'll get some press out of it. Anyway, guys, listen, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming, Ham. Thanks for coming. Always appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. So, and then he bit me. That's where we were. That's where we left off. Oh, no, maybe that wasn't the spot we left off. I think we were talking about, that's always great to be up to date. And that was the discussion of mostly finger motion related stuff. And I think, ironically, we started off with Kappy Bara, so it kind of overlapped. And then I think some GTII mixed in. I think that was kind of basically it. And a bunch of Secret Service stuff on top of that. So I was talking about the petition. I'm going to try to be quick on this topic, but I have to get to the arbitration or else it would not be fair. So a petition in New York was filed is to get the names of the defendants who were involved in the October 2021 trading of MMTLP. And a petition was filed to get the names. It's not to get evidence about the claim, just to identify it. And nobody's disclosed. Somebody apparently signed a form or was involved in getting that to trade, but nobody has copped to it at this point in time. So the petition seeks, I think OTC is the defendant, to disclose who those people are. And I think that's a good petition. Myself, I think that fits within the statute. There was a prior petition filed that's up on appeal, and I don't know how that's going to end up. But comparing, and I read the petition in this case, when I compared the two, I thought this one was more persuasive and better suited for the statute. Go for it.
I actually didn't read it. I'm sorry. I did not read it. I was kind of busy. This was a busy week.
I think that's you. Sometimes you give your best answers when you're completely ignorant of the information. Honestly, I think that was a compliment. That's a compliment.
Thanks. No, I didn't read it. I mean, I'm presuming it's under the same statute, the same New York statute that filed. So it's a pre-discovery petition. It's merely asking for names against the OTC. So I'm sure Mark incorporated. If I were to guess, I'm willing to bet he incorporated some of the stuff from his first petition, the appeal, and it's kind of flowing back and forth. So
I think the factual setup is better. Also, in the prior one, they were seeking. There was also seeking
data.
Yeah, data plus it was 105 brokers.
Yeah.
It wasn't really very narrow. And this one is much narrower and only really just seeking the ID of particular parties.
If you go, and maybe you're right, maybe I do tend to answer when I don't have any idea what I'm talking about. If you go back to, what we initially thought the biggest hurdle in that case would be, it was the investigatory, immunity, that it was part of an investigation and therefore didn't have to be turned over. OTC doesn't have that. Now that ended up not being that big of a hurdle for Mark. It wasn't even addressed by the judge. It was more along the lines of statutory construction that the claim was denied. So we know that hurdles out in this particular instance against OTC markets because they don't have that they can't use that exemption, or that level of exemption. So I mean, I would imagine that it does have a better factual pattern in this go round. So,
and we don't know, if it's granted. I don't know how it's going to be limited in terms of the disclosure and who can use it. And I would guess it would go up on appeal, and I don't know how that would turn out. But just if you get a favorable ruling, it will have a lot of value. You'll have leverage, negotiating leverage. It will be significant, even if it's not final. It is significant. So there's a hearing on the 14th of December. Judge will rule then or after at some point.
Well, I mean, I would imagine. I would imagine that OTC is going to file something with the court saying, "Hey, we want to submit a brief. Can we get an extension or something?" I mean, that's standard operating procedure.
Yeah, there'll be an opposition and there'll be a reply, and then there'll be a hearing. Then there'll be a hearing, and then the court will issue a ruling. And after that ruling, there may be an appeal. That's kind of
I would look for the 14th just to be one of maybe the next two, or at least another date after that before they're having any type of oral, assuming they even go to oral arguments. I don't know, so.
Well, they may have the oral argument might be on the 14th of December.
You think?
Yeah. It's possible. I know I saw that date, so that could change.
Yeah. No, you're right. The dates, that's the date, but I guess I'm assuming, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just assuming that they would file some type of petition for an extension saying, "Hey, we're going to oppose this and we're going to submit a brief, and can you give us another 30 days or whatever the time period is." I don't know.
It's possible. It's kind of whatever the particular practice would be, like the local practice. Not, in some places there would be less friendly and less accommodating. In other places they'd be more accommodating. So I don't know, like in that matter, how it would work. But it would be interesting. That's all I could say. And if in fact the court found in favor, any court, it would be significant. It would everybody would be aware of it, and everybody would be aware of the risk.
Right.
But we don't know yet. And obviously, that's something we'll follow. And the other one's on appeal, so we'll see how that goes. And it's unique to New York and whatever other states have that pre-litigation discovery, which means before you sue somebody, you can actually do something to find out information about the lawsuit you haven't filed yet.
Right. Well,
right?
but remember, the state court still has to have jurisdiction. So,
True.
keep that in mind.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. All right.
I know how you fudge these rules sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we do. But again, it also might be interesting. Excuse me. It also might be interesting. The names that come out of it, because maybe they apply to more than just MMTLP or MMAT. Maybe it opens the door to other things. Because, you would think if it's a big business, ongoing big business, and this was a business practice, probably not MMAT was not the only target, I wouldn't think. So there's probably others. And, so it may impact a lot of securities. And just like Ham was talking about, that petition to ban short selling, kind of the same kind of mindset,
Sure.
right?
Well, it's like anything, grassroots organization, grassroots lobbying. I mean, I go back to, I hate to say it, I know you're going to laugh when I say it, but the civil rights movement, they chipped away at certain laws so that by the time they got in front of the Supreme Court, they had this totality of cases banning some of the well, not some of, a good part of the Jim Crow laws. And if you read Brown versus a Board of Education, they basically say, yeah, look, they've had all these wins, it's basically this empty shell. How can we now move forward with separate but equal? So it's it's the same. I mean, obviously much different contextually or substantively, but kind of the same approach and context. And Mark and Wes are at the forefront, kind of chipping away at these some of these laws, and they're making a difference. And so are we by talking about this stuff, and so is Ham.
Yeah. I had a side issue. I don't know why I have this here, but maybe it'll help somebody. Insurance. This is going to be like a 2-sentence description. Insurance. If you have insurance, what insurance does is it gives you coverage to pay a liability, but it also defends you. So like these guys, now I'm going to bring it to our situations here. If there's a resolution of these claims, let's say broker A gets sued. They end up paying something in resolution of that suit. They may have insurance that covers part of that. So that may be an element that we haven't discussed as an additional pocket of money that might be used in a resolution. And there may be litigation amongst a bunch of insurance companies over who's responsible and all that. But all the brokers have insurance. They will all have insurance. And even so insurance covers non-intentional acts. And what'll happen because we talk about it all the time. There's fraud, right? We talk about it, that all these are acts of fraud. So if you sued somebody and the claim was only fraud, your insurance company would say, sorry, Charlie, claim is fraud and we don't cover fraud. But usually in those lawsuits, they'll mix it up. So there'll be like a negligence claim. A negligence claim is covered or could be covered. And what they'll do is they'll send a letter. They'll say, basically, we don't have any coverage, but we'll defend you. And that's probably what happens a lot of times as to these brokers. They're getting a defense paid through their insurance on claims that we might bring. So I believe, for example, in my case, I have an arbitration claim against Fidelity. The firm that is defending Fidelity is probably being hired and paid through insurance.
Right.
My speculation, but that's my speculation. But there's a whole level of insurance that kind of goes in there. So kind of like, but to split it up is insurance company has two obligations. One is to pay the claim and one is to defend you. And so
Right.
always remember that even if they deny a claim, maybe if you get sued or something, maybe they still have an obligation to defend you and they wouldn't necessarily disclose that to you. But understand those are two separate pieces. So I just wanted to throw that out. Maybe it'll help somebody down the road. Maybe not. Also, I wanted to talk about, I'm sorry. Wanted to talk anything?
No,
Okay.
that was a good 2-minute overview.
All right. My arbitration, I have a hearing on the 21st, which is Tuesday.
I was just going to say, hell, that's next week.
Yeah. It'll be the second initial hearing. The first initial hearing was canceled because of a problem with one of the arbiters. We're moving forward with this one despite my various objections. And we'll see what happens on the 21st. I looked what the basic average length of a proceeding is from the time you file. So let me back up. A lot of people have posted comments. They were interested in if they could pursue arbitration, and they had no idea how to pursue that. So since I'm in it, I figured I could lay out my experience and perhaps a little background and be of assistance. And JR and I kind of discussed this also off air, that we may kind of attack the rules, the FINRA rules, the most important ones that generally apply to arbitrations, and kind of maybe go over a rule Sunday each week, so that everybody kind of can understand basically how the arbitration process works at FINRA. We think that might be useful. In the meantime, since we're not doing that, I figured I can kind of tell you generally how it's set up and how the process goes. So start to finish, 16 months. So from the time you file your claim to the time you would get a decision after a trial, 16 months. That's relatively fast compared to if I filed a case in Superior Court in California, probably about the same length of a time, maybe in federal court. So, but not fast, obviously not fast, but for legal standpoint, not particularly slow. The way it works is you would file a claim, and the claim doesn't have to be a sophisticated document. It literally could be, because let's say originally, and let me back up one more step. All right. So JR and I got involved in MMTLP. I obviously thought I was in a unique position so I could file an arbitration claim and pursue it as myself being the client, but the benefit of the community would work. And I don't remember where I was going to go with that. Finish that one for me, JR.
Yeah. I don't. You're talking babble. I think you got COVID on your brain. I mean, look, we did an investment. We obviously never thought we were going to be, halted by the federal government. Richard and I talked very early on, multiple times, about legal theories that were presented because of the halt. Obviously, I'll give a little history of Richard's claim. Richard initially filed in federal court. Richard and I had talked at length about, kind of the strategy that would go behind how he needed to stay in federal court. He filed multiple briefs, but ultimately that case got dismissed out of federal court because of the terms of service of his contract. There's a provision in the terms of service of his contract with Fidelity. That provision is mandatory arbitration. So you all have them. They're in all 105 broker dealers that are members of FINRA, because in order to be a broker dealer of FINRA, you have to have mandatory arbitration for your customers. Now, your customers on the retail side, That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't get to be a FINRA member unless that provision's in your terms of service.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. And you did remind me where I was. So I appreciate that. So something early on that I had thought about since I was going to file was what happens if a whole bunch of people filed, and this was involving MMTLP, because after I thought that, then I kind of looked and I discovered, of course, that wasn't an original thought, but that there were some strategies, especially like in labor cases, they would do mass arbitration filings and overwhelm the system, and it would be, basically be a strike in essence. And I thought, as to MMTLP, even though I couldn't recommend it, I probably did some stupid video. Probably 3 people watched it a long time ago. And I probably, danced around the subject matter. What happens if everybody filed arbitration claims against their brokers? What would happen? And but nobody really did, as far as I know, to this point in time. And now people are asking about GTII because of the special dividend, because there is a special dividend that had a restriction, and apparently it's supposed to be transferred without the restriction off. And apparently some brokers are not honoring that, or they're jerking around, really. And somebody asked me, or more than one person asked me, could we go and file arbitration claims to get our special dividend? And I said, why not? Why, if you have an entitlement to it, and that's what your remedy is, then why can't you? And it's not going to be correct for everybody. In fact, there may be very few people that are able to do it all the way through themselves, honestly.
Right.
Because like we were talking about it, maybe the trial portion in particular might be tricky for someone who's not comfortable with the process. But you might be able to do a lot of the stuff, but without an attorney up near trial, save yourself a lot of money. And sometimes matters resolve themselves. They may resolve yourselves before you ever get to trial. That might be the case also. And a lot of people may not be capable or may not want to do it also, and I understand that too.
Well, it's an intimidating process for even for an attorney like me who's never practiced. It's an intimidating process. I mean, it's a mini lawsuit in front of an independent arbitrator, and I think there's a panel of 3. And look, they count on that stuff. They count on inaction. That's what that's what they hope for. The arbitration in theory makes great sense. You have 20, 30, 40, 50 million customers. If 2% of those people need to be in court, that's a lengthy process. And it's super costly. And it's not just costly to the broker dealer, it's costly to the individual. But the arbitration provision in these terms of service, while it makes perfect sense in theory, it deprives the customer of, what I tend to think is basic due rights, or due process rights. You and I have talked about this. Arbitration panels, whether it's arbitration in FINRA or arbitration in employment law, it's the Wild West. You don't have the normal rules of civil procedure. You don't have the normal rules of evidence. All kinds of things can be admitted or denied for any reason, and you're stuck. And that's not due process as we've come to know in this country. That's judge, jury, and executioner standing right in front of you, and if you lose, you lose. Perfect example, the rule around you being able to take a deposition. I mean, that to me is not due process. So yeah, it can be super intimidating to try and arbitrate a claim or go into arbitration with a claim.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you for heavy support of arbitration. No, I appreciate. I appreciate that.
That's not what I meant. What I meant was
no. I appreciate.
What I meant was that's why we're trying to explain the process and help people.
It's not easy. but you can do a lot of it. And I was thinking, so, and again, it depends on the person. If it's a professional person that has like, an accountant, some type of professions that are maybe analogous, then maybe it's really not that difficult. But you ultimately have to be comfortable enough that when you're doing the trial, that you don't get flustered, that you have no idea where you are. You're like spaced out like JR, and you can't finish the trial.
99.
Yeah, but you certainly can initiate. I have to finish this. But you certainly can initiate an arbitration. So maybe you don't finish it, but you could certainly start one, and that makes them hire counsel, and it starts a process.
Right.
So what you do is, and basically, what I decided is I'll try to be, I'll put out a video and I'll be more specific about this stuff, but I'll give you kind of like a quick summary of how it goes. So you file an initial claim. An initial claim doesn't have to be very long and sophisticated. It could be on a piece of paper. Should be directed to whoever you're sending it to, but it could be said, I'm entitled to GTII is the more recent request that I've received. So it could be just says, I'm entitled to a GTII special dividend. Please direct my broker to take any restrictions off and put it in my account, something along those lines. It could be more sophisticated than that too, but it doesn't have to be very long and in depth. And you file that. And when you file it, there's a filing fee. But if you ask for a fee waiver and you can't afford it, you may get all costs waived. So if all costs waived, that means in every filing it won't cost you anything, and the hearings won't cost you anything. If you don't get costs waived, then you still are paying for costs of the arbitration, which could be for arbiters, places, for JR's booze, for JR's lunch, whatever, all that stuff. So there is a cost. But you could, again, if you can't afford it, then you get a fee waiver, and then maybe you can go for free. And in fact, that'll be another element of leverage. If you got a fee waiver and the defendant, I'm calling the broker the defendant, if the broker has to incur costs, that's another, there's piling up costs. And by the way, when I was asked about GTII, I think I was asked in terms of that mass filing of arbitrations. That's how it came up. Somebody said, well, what would happen if like 20,000 people filed arbitration claims with, I think TD is what they asked me. And so that goes back to my thought about MMTLP. I think it would be unbelievable. I think it would be like the system would be paralyzed.
The system would be overwhelmed.
Yeah, somebody would have to intervene. Some agency, whatever, it would have to intervene to figure out what's going on, really. Mm-hmm. And we talk about other ways of, and by the way, every time I said that, I said I appreciate whatever tactic anybody else is taking, because I know JR is involved in the congressional stuff, and I'm involved in my arbitration, and I like Rosa filed an appeal, and Basile's filing his, and anyway, there's a bunch going on. But that part is I find interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So again, quickly, I'm just going to go through how it goes. You file the initial claim. That's served on the defendant. So if you sued Fidelity, you'd file it with FINRA, and I'll get into the specifics later on, not tonight. You file it with FINRA. FINRA then will serve it on Fidelity directly. Once Fidelity gets it, they have a period of time to answer. They'll file an answer. Then you are in play. There will be a case number assigned to you. Then there'll be a period of time where you will have an arbitration selection. You'll have a chance to pick arbiters. And I'll get into the process also. But eventually, you'll either have one or three arbiters that will be adjudicating your case. After that, then there'll be like an initial hearing I mean, yeah, initial hearing that you'll go to with whoever is the other side, along with the three arbiters. You'll have, after that, some discovery process where you'll get documents and some answers, limited, but you'll get, and you have the opportunity perhaps to make other requests. And then you will have a hearing, which is like a trial, where they'll take evidence, although they can do it like JR was mentioning early on. It's not so strict. So if they want to be slanted, they can be slanted.
Exactly.
But they could be legit too. So, who knows? And if there was 20,000, this is kind of moot anyway. But if it was only one person filing it, then it would be like that. You'd have a trial, and then they have a period of time to make a decision. They make a decision. Can you file an appeal? Yeah, but probably unlikely to get any change of whatever that decision is. That's
Right.
that's the process. So on bulk, I think it would have an amazing impact. If you're skilled enough or you have the means to hire counsel to do it and enough people did it, I think it would be very impactful. To those that really want to do it, you certainly, there's no reason you should not. Because even if you start, you can bail at any point in time. You can withdraw your claim. So if something happens outside of the arbitration that's better than anything you think you can get from the arbitration, you could end up dismissing your case in the arbitration and then pursue the other remedy. And the other part is the arbitration and the documents you're filing are confidential. So it's
Right.
not like anybody knows, other than like when I tell you what's going on. Okay, is that pushing the bounds? I don't know. By the way, I guess I'll find out on the 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I decided I would do it like that. But I haven't shown any documents or anything like that. And the documents are basically confidential. So you have basically a free shot for some degree. And again, it just depends on whether that's something that you can do, that you feel comfortable doing, or you have the means and it makes sense economically to do it. But
Right.
it's certainly something that's available, and it's probably not done enough. And that's why they get away with a lot of what they
Sure.
do. I
Sure.
know that.
They
Yeah.
count on they count on inaction.
Yes, they count on inaction. Do you want me to do the last one, or you want to bail?
How long? I don't even remember what the last topic was.
The GTII dismissal.
Yeah, that's what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, I can do it quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is the GDI dismissal. This is the dismissal of the action that was against I forgot the name of the company. The
It was a
broker.
variety of companies.
Yeah, there were about spoofing was the basic claim. I think West Christian's office filed. It was dismissed, I think, on the 14th or the 15th recently. So in the past few days, we haven't heard from the company or Wes, and we may not. I don't know if we will or will not. But the dismissal was publicly. I don't know who made it available. I'm not sure, but I saw it. You saw it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been on Pacer. Was it? I don't know what.
Yeah, it would have been, but I don't know if that was the way I saw it.
Oh no, I know it wasn't, but I'm sure someone has been watching and clocked it.
Yeah. So, and what caught my attention, and we talked a little bit about this, and I don't know, again, I don't know I don't have any firsthand knowledge of anything because nobody's in that position has spoken, the company or
Right.
Wes, so I don't really know.
Right.
What caught my attention was the Rule 11 language, but then I kind of went and looked a little bit also at the claim. And so spoofing, and I wanted to distinguish that from what we talk about a lot. So we talk about the counterfeiting of shares. That's not what that case is about. It's about spoofing. And so it's not the same elements, not the same level of proof, etc. And apparently and again, I don't know anything about spoofing, so I'm not an expert about it, but my understanding is that requires to prove it up, you have to be able to sustain your damages, and the damages may be difficult to assert. So you might start a case and think you might be able to prove up damages, for example,
and you may decide as the case goes on that you may not be able to. It might change, and there may be other reasons why you might. So that's one element of damages. The other element I found out was the drop has to be continuous. So it can't be like a drop and then a break and another drop. And so maybe technically that's hard to prove. And so I don't know which one of those applied or if it's something else. But it wouldn't be surprising that if those issues arose, that you might suggest to your client that they had a risk if they couldn't prove those issues that they could be sanctioned. And if that were the case, the attorney might suggest that you dismiss the case.
Right.
Now, again, I don't know in this case, since nobody has spoken, I have no idea whether that's what happened here. And again, it would have nothing to do with counterfeiting. It would just have to do, in my mind, with, and this is kind of unfortunately, the nuts and bolts of law. If you have a claim against somebody, it might sound like somebody's committing fraud, but there's literally elements you have to prove. And if you can't prove all the elements, even though you really know in your heart it's fraud, then you can't allege fraud. So in this case, or you can't prove up fraud. And in this case, and again, I don't know anything about spoofing, but since I understand that the damage element is a difficult element, you may start and think you have a certain level of damages and might learn differently as the case goes on. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that was the case, but that's my speculation. And again, part of that was because I saw the Rule 11 language.
I mean, I can't speculate. I have no idea. There's a multitude of reasons. I go back to the interview that Wes did with, I don't know if it was John Berta or Roger Hamilton or someone, in which he basically explained the process and explained the difficulty it is to, plead these types of cases, especially a spoofing case, because of the amount of things that you need to show. And remember, you can't, in these types, any type of lawsuit, you can't put speculation or conjecture as fact. You've got to be able to have supporting evidence. So you can't write a brief and file a lawsuit and say the sky is green and not have any evidence that the sky is green. It's not the way it works.
Yeah, and I'll give you, and I was going to say, I'll give you a personal example of like cases I've been involved in, and things changed from when I started the case to when you got closer to the trial. So maybe when I started the case, I hire an expert, and I give the expert like the 3-minute overview, and the expert gives me an opinion based upon that 3-minute overview. But maybe 6 months down the road, when the expert has a different view of the facts, or has a better understanding, or is being direct and truthful, maybe their opinion has changed, and maybe now you don't have that case that you thought that the expert told you at the start. I've had cases where literally, it's part of it is, so you have expert witnesses in litigation, and so like damages, for example, you could put on expert economists to justify damages. And I've had plenty of people, because it's in part a sales job. So if you want the gig, you can't say your damages suck. You're going to get 0, because then that guy probably doesn't get hired. Probably not.
He's not going to be your expert.
Yeah. But, it's very possible that as you learn more and maybe open yourself up to information, that the expert might change their mind, and then they leave you kind of stuck.
Right.
And that can happen too. So I've seen that happen too. Ultimately, we don't know the reason. It was just kind of, again, the language of the dismissal caught my attention. What I said before was speculation in terms of why, but at some point in time, it would be helpful if someone did disclose the reason.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. And, but maybe not. Like in MMAT, it always struck me in MMAT, they still haven't just told me why they got rid of 2 CEOs in like 14 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, and again, it's pure speculation. We may or may not hear from the company on it. We may or may not even hear from Wes on it. So
Yeah, no, very, very possible. Just like I said, MMAT, we haven't heard anything, and maybe they think that's better.
they're under no obligation to share any information.
Yeah, I guess the question would be, I think I saw a tweet. I guess they would say if it was a material financial event, then they'd probably have to file some kind of filing. But if it's not, they won't have to. So I guess so perhaps if there's no filing, that would suggest that the resolution did not involve a economic element. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I would think, we'd probably see something within a week or two of the event, I would think.
Yeah, I would imagine. I was looking at a comment. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that if they're going to put something out, it would be soon. But remember, to your point, the only way they're under obligation is if it's a material event.
Yeah.
Is the lawsuit a material event? I don't know.
Yeah. If we don't hear about it, then it's not. And, again, like I said, it doesn't, as far as I know, GTI has multiple fingers, ironically. This was just one aspect because it doesn't impact the issue of the counterfeit naked shorts.
Right.
This just happened to be one manipulative practice. It did not have, it doesn't have to do with the complete dilutive effect of naked counterfeiting. Or as I call it now, Bermuda. My name for that. Anyway, are there any comments you want to address?
Yeah, there was just one from Ordinary Angler. No, we would not anticipate them cooperating. He asked if OTC markets will cooperate. I would be shocked if they cooperate.
Yeah, it appears kind of like based on what happens in the Alpine filings that all the companies that the SROs like FINRA, they're all on the same page, all those companies, and they all support each other. So OTC will stand in line with FINRA, for example, I think. Any other comments you saw that you found?
No, that was it. I was paying attention to him, and there were a lot of questions for Ham, but
I apologize. That was a somewhat ragged live stream. I apologize for that raggedity, if that's a word. And I appreciate JR hanging in there. I know you had a headache. I survived my live stream with COVID. I still am here. What wonderfully. But all you peoples out there who hung out, we appreciate it. Again, I'm going to be more specific about arbitration as we go on. If I see that people are still interested, if not, that's fine. If it's, whatever, my feelings will not be hurt. But if I see some interest, I will try to talk about it again. Anyway, for all you out there,
one thing you can always count on is you'll have jokes, right?
Yeah, well, attempted jokes. That's the best we can do. Anyway, to JR again, thanks for making it through. I appreciate it.
Always. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. And everybody have a great Sunday night or Monday, wherever you are. Be well and take care. And now we're going to wait